Good morning. This is Norma Cowie back again with Norma Talks. Well, it's the first day of September, and what I usually do on the first Wednesday of the month is take a look at the month. And this time I thought a little differently. I thought about North America because that's where I live in North America. And I actually live in Canada, but so I wanted to include the States as well. And I did put my tarot cards out in its usual inverted pyramid form, which I will show you in a minute. And I just was looking at this because I remember when we were finishing up August, from the 20th on, it looked really, really exciting and good, like things were opening up. And instead, in our part of the world where I am, everything has become more muddied, you might say. More restrictions came in, and as of the 13th of September, they are wanting these passport things everywhere. It wouldn't take much by my talk to see that I'm not really approving of that. So it's, again, because as I have mentioned often, I'm not for censorship. And that definitely is a censorship. In other words, if you don't agree here, then it's like you're I don't know, travel. Can't go to this store, that store. At least we can still get into grocery stores, which is kind of nice. And everything else. But anyway, to begin, I am going to, as usual, go through sharing my screen here. And I had quite a bit. There we go. Just bring it up. So this was the reading that I got for September. When I looked at this, I was not clear at all. Sometimes readings flow. I call them, when I'm doing personal readings, I say, well, it flows beautifully. Other times it doesn't flow. It's like you're all over the place. And when I looked at this without reading it, because I don't read them until I actually start talking to you, my feeling was, what on earth am I going to do with this? Now, I remember a couple of months ago, I thought that too, but we got through that. So this really has no flow to it. Every time it starts to flow, and as a reader, that's what I'm looking for. Because if I'm looking at your life, I want to know there's a flow in there, and if there isn't, what we can do. But this one is like higgledy-piggledy. So let's begin. You can see here in the beginning up here, and I never think if you can see my pointer, but it tells me where I am, is that there is the Queen of Swords. Now, there's a lot of, actually, I take court cards. I have a different take on a lot of the symbology, and the court cards to me are your attitudes to life. So there's a lot of hesitancy right now. And when you look at different segments of the society as to what's happening, there is some resistance. There's resistance to the ones that don't agree with you. There's a resistance of those that don't like what's going on, because it does stample on a lot of constitutional rights for both the US and Canada and other countries. And so there is a hesitancy. Now, the one thing I like about the Queen of Swords is that, and it's to do with the beautiful crown that she has on her head here, which is the butterflies, is that it does not always appear that there's resistance. But the way the sword is held, and like in other words, her arms up, beckoning you in, everything shows those, yes, I'm very open, I'm with you, but there's resistance. And I picked up, that's the first thing my eye went to, was the resistance. Now, interestingly, the next symbol is the Empress, which is love and openness and beauty. And to me, that symbol has taught me over the years that love is forgiveness and acceptance, and a lot of acceptance as one moves on in the higher arcana of the tarot, has a lot of acceptance about it. So to me, when I look at that, it's very much about acceptance of what's happening and what's going on. And which brings us to, and I'm going to say this is probably the first 10 days of this month, it brings us to the world where we have balance and everything in the sense of balancing and coming together. And this again could have an air of acceptance because it has, oops, I got it too big now, sorry. Man, do I can ever learn this? I don't know. I am working on it, I'll tell you. It's only been a year and a half, but I've only started doing these kind of things in the last few months. Oh, I'll leave it there. I won't touch that again. So the world is that balancing point and the acceptance of being and sort of like closed in. And this is going to refer to many people that are going to come to that place of being enclosed. But it is the attainment card. It is the completion of that kind of level that you're going through if you're looking at the esoteric value of that. So that, I think, takes us to the 10th. Kind of feeling like, okay, this is where it is. Some acceptance of what's going on and how to balance it. But as we go into that middle stretch of the month, we come into, first of all, the 2 of Wands and then the 5 of Wands. Now, the Wands to me is always how you think. And so here in the 2 of Wands, we're letting go what was already, because there's the fixed idea, and we're looking at these other ideas, but they're not fixed yet. So we're still kind of looking at what is going to happen now, what's taking place now. Now, I know living in BC, come the 13th, they're going to want to have passports to go into different bits and pieces. So this is just before that. That's like the last few days before that. And then we come to right around the 10th, and we're going to see it goes on, is the confusion from the 5. Now, when we look at the end of that top row, is that the confusion that really sets in. And that confusion to me lasts for quite a bit of time, because the next symbol that follows this and takes us again, at least up to the 20th, even if not the 23rd, is the Knight of Swords. Attitude card again, because it's a court card. Overreaction. If there's going to be conflict, if there's going to be a real, you might say, surge against all these mandates that are coming down from above, which doesn't seem to be based on any real science, according to me, from what I can figure, is that this confusion and then overreaction can be very tumultuous and very unsettled. And there's a new moon again around the 20th, somewhere in there. And so there's again a sense of just unrest. There's nothing here settles on the ground. It's like everything is changing. Everything is feeling up in the air and just unsure. And then I think we come to around the 23rd, 4th, and there, 4 of Wands. Things settle down for a bit. And it feels like there's a little bit of a lull. And as though everyone, because this is ideas being manifested. This is ideas coming to fruition. So there could be shifts and changes, but I'm not 100% sure of that because of the symbology that comes through. But that may be because out of the conflict that I'm seeing in here, as we move further into the late 20s, that we get that 7 of Swords there, which is demonstrating and showing we haven't really let go. So maybe it's like we're still burdened with what's come out of the past. This is, to me, is always a guilt or a regret symbol, where we've done something we regret, or we carry guilt from before. Now we're looking at this nationally. It's like we're still holding on to the old format, because I feel that there's been changes going on in here, but we're still holding on to the old format. So we're still maybe living under what we call old, not practical, not real scientific stuff. And so then as we come into the last few days of September, and remember September is only 30 days, is then it's like, again, we get another one of these distributions of energy, whether that's money, whether that's just equalizing. There seems to be a little bit more equalizing of things. There could be a big change happening. I'll say could. Everything is always a possibility in the future. A change happening in those last 10 days, I would think. Maybe but it's a rough month. It's like, get ready for the ride, get ready for here, there. And it depends, again, what side are you on this fight for individuality and for choice, having freedom of having choice of what you choose, and an acceptance of people that choose differently than you. So there's a lot of that. And also in Canada, on the 20th of September, we have an election. And that's that's a big point here too, because what specifically in this election are we going to have? So there's those that support having all these mandates and those that don't support having the mandates. And so that could also be figuring in a little bit more in my reading, as I am in Canada and all of these things. But also, if I look at what's happening in the US, it's very similar. They may not be having a big election at that time, but at the same point, they're having to deal with all these ideas. Now, I'm going to I just wanted to do a little bit more regarding the flow of the symbology. If we take the look at the left side, we've got the Queen of Swords, the Knight of Swords, and the Six of Pentacles. You've got two defensive, because to me, they're defensive symbols. One is definitely the Knight is reactive, but that's how we react in a defensive manner, coupled with balancing. What are you putting out? It's almost like sanity coming in. And again, I feel that we're going to pretend that, no, we're all cool, we're all good. And then overreaction to everything, it like boils over. Something is going to boil over in the middle of the month. I don't know what it is, but something's going to boil over. And then, if I had time, I probably could look at what's boiling over, but I'm just talking words here. So when we take a look at getting rebalanced. Now, this balance is at the end of the middle row as well. The middle row says, hey, it's all okay. Everything is there. And it's going to be evenly, everything is going to work out. That's what the middle row says. But again, on the right-hand side, my right-hand side is 5 of Wands, 7 of Swords before we get to the 6 of Pentacles. 5 of Wands is usually confusion of ideas within ourselves, within the world, within whatever. And then the 7 says, yeah, I'm moving ahead, but I'm really not letting go. I'm not changing my viewpoint. I'm not changing whatever it is. And I have some regrets about certain things, but this is where I am. And then finally, this balancing point. So again, it's right. It does not flow. It's not what I call a flow. When I'm looking at joining words. How do I join confusion of guilt, we'll say, or regret with everything being balanced? What words can I use to join those? Because that leaves in the middle the dear little 4 of Wands, which says every attainment of ideas, attainment. So we've got here, I was looking at this as I'm looking at what are the learning factors. And you've got the Empress in the world are the major laws, the law of love and attainment. If we use love, understanding, and which is to me is acceptance and forgiveness, if we can have balance, we can come together. In our mental, it says everything is there, but this, we've got 2, 4, and 5 in here. So 2 means contemplation of ideas, letting go of some ideas and new ideas, which would bring success. But you've got that confusion there. That confusion says, oh yeah, but what about this? And what about that? So again, it does not flow easily. There's no cup symbologies in here this week. Well, this month. Now we look at the sword symbology. You have the 7 of Swords, which is really not letting go of the past, just holding on to it. Looking back, just not holding on. It's like we're just holding everything on. Then we have 2, what I call attitude symbols. It's the only 2 in this whole reading. They are how we think, feel, and respond the most often. 1 is we're going to hold everything out and act like it's right now, like everything's okay, it'll be all right. 2, overreaction. Again, overreaction. So my prognosis for this month is it's a ride. Hold on, grab hold and just flow with everything that there is, because really it'll be interesting. The 6 of Pentacles, the 4 of Wands and the 6 of Pentacles give me hope with the Empress and the world. But the rest of it, as I said, does not flow. Be prepared to feel one way one day and another way the next day, or just don't listen to the news, I think, because it's just going to be upsetting, because there's going to be conflicts. I really feel there's going to be conflicts more in the middle of the month. The world is very much on tenterhooks, never mind just North America. I'm very much on tenterhooks. And so there's this imbalance that's going on. And where does that all fit? So I've got my cards on the table, but I'm just going to put them all away right now and say, okay, that's that on this way. And I'm going to stop the share. And I'll come back in the sense of understanding that how do we handle these things when it's not how we want it to be? Now, I come from a school of thought where we teach how do we create reality, our reality? How do we goal set? How do we deal with all these things, which is really important because honestly, sometimes your things that you set your goals and set what you want does not happen. Just does not occur. I've had that happen I've been cruising along in my life very, very well. And then all of a sudden, it's like the rug gets pulled out under you. How do you handle that is the key. I used to say, and in fact, I heard my son repeat this to somebody the other day. It's not the event that's important. It's how you handle the event. It's what you do with it. So it's been very often, I know in the last few months, I at times have become extremely frustrated over things and forget all my spiritual principles because I'm in anger mode or in reaction mode for sure. But it really comes down to it is we all want to be peaceful inside. We all want to feel that life is supporting us and giving us what we need to be a part of all there is. Now, I'm very fortunate. I get to work with people most days of the week where especially through my transformation work, where I am connecting with the major source of life. I'm connecting with the love. I'm connecting because I'm working to have people clear their blocks so they can connect with that and realize that there is something more and bigger than just sometimes these inconveniences of life. And I know sometimes it's not easy handling inconveniences. I know it's not easy when you've had a goal that's being just taken away from you. But you know what I found in my life was that sometimes in the darkest moments, some of the most interesting things have happened. And what has led me into a greater understanding, not only of myself, but of others, it has put me perhaps on a different pathway at times. It is showing me that life is bigger than what I understand. And so what happens in that? You develop trust and faith. I find very often with my clients, that is one aspect that we work on, trust and faith. Trust and faith in self, trust and faith in life. Because over our lifetimes, we have learned not to trust. We have learned not to necessarily trust ourselves. And we definitely haven't learned to trust life because life comes along. And remember, many of us have had lifetimes which have not been very happy ones. And it's all those decisions that you've made in those not very happy lifetimes that very often, pretty well all the time, but get acted out in this life. I'm just going to repeat one of my things I say often. From the time we're conceived, whenever we have a strong feeling, we reach back in our memory banks to the last time we experienced it, and we remake the same decision. I became very aware how important that was because once a decision is put in place, it's like becomes your belief. Then people talk a lot about beliefs. So they come from decisions that you made. And the belief is there, and we tend then to recreate the belief in our lives. So in order to change the beliefs that are being represented, we have to go inside, excuse me, and clear those beliefs out of the subconscious or from the patterning of your life. Now, again, sorry. And just know that very, very often, see, I'm croaking on this one. I have to have a drink of water. And I think my throat gets very tight on that is because it's so important. And it's something that most people don't realize, that they keep recreating the same scenarios because the original decision has not ever been addressed. The original decision has not been understood or come into a play. And the key here is that you must, at some point, to really find that peaceful end, no matter what's happening out there. You may not like what's happening out there. There are some things happening right now I personally do not like. But at the same point, we've got to trust the process of life. We've got to trust that energy that's out there, that whatever you call it, there's so many names, but I'll call it universal love energy for now. We've got to trust that and know that that brings strength. And that brings strength that you can deal, handle, cope. What other words have I got in here? That will have you be able to go through whatever's going on and come out the other end, not decimated, but stronger. And a lot of that is really finding courage. But faith and trust is what I really want to leave you with today. This coming month does look, it's probably, I've said this before, I know another couple of months ago, it looked a little, this looks really, I don't like the middle of the month part. I don't know. It feels fighty to me. It feels very, as you can see by my hands, very yucky. And we will hear about it. We will maybe participate in it. I'm not sure as people, but we must have faith and trust, not only in our own feeling of what is correct for ourselves, number one, but knowing that no matter what, it always works out. That's what I found in my life. Even when I had my back to the wall, even when I lost everything, when everything changed, when everything seemed disastrous, just carrying on, having trust and faith, everything began to change. So let's trust in that. Let's trust that we are growing, that we are becoming more connected to that beautiful, loving energy that is here on this planet, and not get caught up too much in all the hype that's going on about this, that, or the other. And just know that we are loved individually for who we are and what we do and how we look at it. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for just being here and tuning in week after week or watching the different things. Remember, I do have a Sunday thought that I put out on Sunday mornings and everything else. So please have a great week, and I'll be back here next Wednesday. Love and blessings.